So last video, I showed you how to use the WASP framework to actually build out your SaaS and get up and running with a blueprint to scaffold your app and build it just way quicker and get it to production faster. And that is incredible. And I'm going to be creating more tutorials to build that out further. But I also wanted to show you like the other side of that, where we get ChatGPT to generate our tech stack and then kind of like basic instructions that we give to Windsurf to develop basically that starter blueprint with all the same things like protected routes, authentication, a backend database, Stripe, and then build out our product. But this video, I'm going to do it like all from scratch and just show you how that works, just so you can see that it's not the most complicated thing ever and you can do it too. So follow along and you should end up with a pretty cool product if you want to build something yourself. Okay, so this is the last video I made, just posted it 1 hour ago, 15 views. It's okay. So how to set up your SaaS framework in 30 minutes, 33-minute video. I don't think that's too clickbait. I think that's like a good title. But in this one, we are going to be using ChatGPT, obviously, to build out our new app right here. So the idea I had for this new app is, so I've made tutorials on Apollo before, or more specifically Appify, on how to use it to scrape leads and just like leverage the actors is what they're called, pre-built systems that other people have made on here so that you can access them and like they can just do stuff for you, like scrape leads, enrich data, all sorts of stuff. So this is something I've used a lot in the past, this Apollo scraper. So this basically bypasses Apollo's, and if you don't know what Apollo is, it's basically a massive lead database. So you can reach out to them and sell your thing. And this basically bypasses Apollo's like pricing plans. So you can get in for $1.20 per thousand leads, which is like super reasonable. So we're going to be using this, and then we are going to be combining it with a full stack application. So a front end, wrap that in a nice front end that people can then interact with and then scrape leads and then download their lead lists. And we're going to be protecting it with a paywall, and we're going to use Stripe for the paywall. And then we're also just going to build like a nice landing page like we had before. And we're going to build it all using a tech stack that GPT suggested. So basically, here you go, our tech stack, Next.js with React. The Next.js API routes are going to be the backend. Superbase, Stripe, and OpenAI are all going to be incorporated in this as well. Next.js middleware and API route guarding, and then just some basic stuff. So basically what I've asked is I asked it to give us some ideas, first of all, right? So choosing an idea is the first thing you need to do. Now, I've done no research with these. Like, you need to always do research, and like a good thing to do is see how many people are searching a certain topic over a certain time frame to see if you can build a vertical SaaS in that area. That's always something very useful. I haven't done any of that. So this is just me going in being like, hey, like, what should I build? What's like an easy MVP that I can build and then get it to like production as fast as possible and then get people using it as fast as possible. So we have the travel itinerary planner that we're going to build in the other video. So I'm not going to do that one now. Meal planner and grocery list generator could be cool. Daily habit tracker, also cool. I've seen a lot of those though. Budget tracker, local adventure finder. So it gave me some ideas, but we're not going to use any of them. We're going to do the B2B SaaS, or like B2B lead scraping platform so that people can sign on and then scrape leads, right? That's what we're going to do. So then I've basically asked it to do very research, logic-based perspective and analysis on the correct tech stack that will not only be the simplest to implement, but the most straightforward and also the highest leverage. Now, I already kind of knew that I would be using these kind of things, Superbase, Next.js, React, Tailwind for styling, and then Stripe. And it's basically said that that works. Like, that's a full-blown, like, easy, good stack to use. So then what I asked is, did I ask it up here? No, I was like down here. So then I said, we're going to continue with your tech stack. I took a screenshot of the Apollo and I was like, we're going to use this. Give our developer the blueprint to scaffold our app. And keep in mind, we're using the Windsurf AI editor. So an AI will actually be creating the blueprint for this to make it extremely simple and lay it out. And then it reasoned for 5 seconds because I'm using O3 mini high. Basically, just give us this entire project like overview. So I'm just going to copy it. I always start with like literally just copying it. We're going to open a folder. I created a folder already. Actually, we're just going to give it a name first. So the folder, I just created one on the desktop, and we're going to call it, excuse me, can I please do this? B2B lead, B2B lead scraper SaaS. Cool. Then open folder, desktop, B2B lead scraper SaaS. Get this into Windsurf here. Now we're going to open Cascade over here, and I'm literally just going to say we are a new full stack app. We need this app to follow the end blueprint I lay out in this guide. And then I'm going to copy and paste the guide in here. And then I'm just going to say implement it in as few lines of code as possible for simplicity and ease, just for simplicity. So it's asking us questions now. So if you're ever unsure on, it's like asking you questions and you don't know how to access it, just open a new terminal and Cascade should be the first one. Would you like your code inside a source directory? We're going to say yes. Would you like to use app router? Yes, we need that. Would you like to use TurboPack for next dev? We don't need TurboPack. That's okay. Would you like to customize the import alias at by default? Sure. I'm not even going to look into it. I'm just going to do that. Okay, great. So now you can see it's installing all of our dependencies that we're going to need, like TypeScript, types, PostCSS, Tailwind CSS, ESLint, everything. So you can see success. It's been created down here. So it can't access the .env files or gitignore files, just like a privacy thing, it's just by default. So, and I think since it actually couldn't create an app with these characters in it, I believe it just created a new one for us. B2B lead scraper SaaS right here. So we need to open this one in Windsurf instead of this one. So let's just go open folder and choose our new one here. Open this up. Cool. So you can see we have like our full project configured in here. Let's open this back up because this is our previous chat with Cursor. No, I keep saying Cursor. Windsurf. Cascade. So it's saying you need to create a .env.local file and then add all of our stuff in your project's root. So just in the like root folder right here, .env, or actually just copy and paste it, .env.local, and then we can click this, copy this all in here. Next, public Supabase URL. So now we need to configure our keys right here to actually find all of our stuff. Stripe webhook secret, next public Stripe publishable key, Stripe secret key, Supabase service role, Supabase anonymous key. So I've created my new project in Supabase here. This is what we're going to use as the database. The backend here, this is also what we're going to use for authentication to see the users in our app and actually keep track of all of the data that they've provided. So then you can just scroll down our page a little bit after we do the email, and we can see the project URL and the API key, copy those, and let's toss them back into here. All right, now next step, you're going to want to go over to the .gitignore right here. Now, this is a file that when we begin committing things to GitHub, which we're going to start to do, so we can actually save the changes and then gradually add new features to the app without breaking anything. We want to go to the gitignore and then basically add our, where is it, .env.local right here. So .env has already been added, which is going to be like our production stuff. And then .env.local will be also added to that. Okay, cool. So in your Appify account, going over to settings, personal API token. Okay, cool. Now we can see it said, would you like me to continue setting up your core application structure and implement key features? So page structure, we say yes. Daisy UI, right? There's Daisy UI. Copy our prompt just so we can save it right here. And then we can just grab this and paste it into here. And we say add Daisy UI for all the styling of the app. So toss that in here, and then it's going to actually install it for us, which is super nice. npm install days UI. If we switch to the Cascade terminal, we can see all this happening in real time. Okay, perfect. So it's added the required days UI and then certain themes, light, dark, whatever, style, all that kind of stuff. So that's super cool. Added this to our Tailwind config file. Now we can just go back, now that we have Daisy, copy this into here and run that and see what happens. Awesome. So I love to see that it's creating the middleware file right here. This is basically just going to protect the routes, and the requests are all from the front end and the back end are all going to filter through the middleware to make sure that the security checks are in place and that we're actually like authenticating correctly and just the app is functioning as it should, basically. Yeah, so I always like to say fix an error or fix or add a new feature or what anything in as few lines of code as possible. Basically what that does is it stops the AI from like overcomplicating things and writing excessive amounts of code that we don't actually need. Oftentimes it'll write functions that almost overlap and it's just completely unnecessary and we don't need it at all. So it says it's revamped the landing page, but we still have a bunch of errors down here. So we need to say, make sure we have the correct types and layout so we don't get these errors. Fix them. Yeah, cool. So this should be like, this should hopefully get it done. Normally it takes a couple of prompts to fix the errors. It duplicated this page by accident, so it just needs to remove some of the code that it made that was just completely unnecessary, basically. All right, so we've created this components directory inside of source right here. Source app. Actually, it's not. It's just in source. So the AI's created this for us. This is going to be our lead scraping form right here. The form that people fill out to actually scrape the leads that we want. And we're probably going to have to update this because I'm guessing that we are going to have different data that Appify requires basically for us to scrape that we're going to need to modify to actually like get a correct API response. Like, for example, if we need company name in a very specific format and we're not sending it in that format, then it's going to break and it won't work. So something that's awesome is that we also created this middleware section that the AI made, or the AI, I guess I can't take credit, but it has a new middleware client up here. So it's going to protect our routes, right? So you can see if there's no session and the user is trying to access a protected route, redirect them to the auth page. So if there's no session and there's no URL path name that starts with auth, then we're sending them to auth. So we're protecting the dashboard and the results routes because those are going to be like obviously like our main routes, right? And then new URL at auth if they aren't authenticated, return them to here. So this is great. This is going to be protecting all of our routes so the people who haven't paid can't get in. Then, as I said, we have this lead scraping thing, the layout and the landing page right here. So if we actually spin up the base of our app, we can do that by running npm run dev right here. So it'll spin it up, localhost 3000. Cool. So you can see localhost 3000. Here we are. We have our really mid looking landing page. We'll make it cooler. Don't worry. So we have our login route right here, login, sign up. And you can see we've switched to our auth route up here. Actually, you can't see that because my screen sucks and it's too small to record the whole screen. So sorry about that. But if you click get started, you can go log in or sign up right here. So we're going to add more to this page, obviously, and give the leads more information. But that's not necessarily what matters in the MVP right now. There's many ways to make this page look nicer. All we need to do is actually get our auth working now with Supabase. Okay, so basically I've just told it that it's failing still and it's like compiling in weird ways and it's basically sending queries to the back end that don't exist yet. So before somebody is actually authenticated, it's trying to log them in. And I think that's what's throwing our errors, which is just super annoying. So I'm going to see if this has fixed it now. I gave it more context this time. Okay, guys, absolute rookie mistake. Went through like 20 minutes of trying to troubleshoot are off, not working. But all we had to do was actually go down to email, and I disabled this, but I forgot to hit save on this. Make sure you hit save on that. So now it should literally work perfectly. And yeah, I feel like a fucking moron. So check it out, guys. After a couple little tweaks within Windsurf, just getting the middleware working a little bit better, we got it working. So we have our dashboard here. We have our sign out. So then if I sign out, I click get started, and then I go sign up. I can make an account. Tester 12345, and then password. Oh, at gmail.com. And then click sign in. We can see we get taken to the dashboard route, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. And again, guys, this is like, yeah, it doesn't look that great, of course. But that's not what we're focusing on. We're just focusing on functionality right now, and then we'll get this looking super sick. So now we can actually, I will style this just a little bit to show you kind of like the process going back and forth with Windsurf to actually style this thing and make it look better. We're going to leverage our component library, and I'm going to leverage screenshots of previous dashboards that I think are just look a lot better probably. So we're going to try and like literally one shot prompt this thing and get the dashboard looking sick. I'd love it if it looked something like this, like just some sort of a cool, if I just look up dashboard here, we'll get more examples. So just a cool dashboard. That's not too complicated. Obviously, a lot of these have like crazy pictures, animations, components. If I just look up simple dashboard. So yeah, something not with icons though. The first one we had was the best, honestly. Maybe like this. I honestly like this one, like this kind of dashboard right here. So I'm actually gonna use this, the app inspo dashboard right here. So yeah, I really like this. I just think it's called Daisy UI, right? Or dashboard. Yeah, Daisy UI. Daisy UI. I'll say you must reference the image I've provided to you as kind of the general layout and styling. You need to have the person's profile in the top, and they can click on that to sign out, and then they can have a settings tab. Use your best judgment on the other pages that need to be specific to our app and will actually be relevant to our user. So maybe like the export page where all of their scrapes will be saved, and then they can export that data, which we don't need to worry about anything other than just styling the dashboard right now. That is the only thing I need you to focus on. And then just add a couple other pages that you think will be relevant and will enhance our application. And remember, this is an MVP, so it needs to be dead simple. Okay, I've given it this screenshot right here because I really like these navigation menus, these sidebars. So then I'm going to say, I've tagged the page right here using the @ symbol page, tagged it so it has access to the code base, and it can actually just call this thing and check it really easily. So, excuse me, so it's going to create the sidebar component, and it should create it in the dashboard. If it doesn't, we are going to have to move it manually because it should all be organized in the dashboard if it's under that route, right? So it's going to create this thing, and then we are going to get it styled a little bit nicer. And as I said, hopefully we can like literally just one shot this thing, but I'm guessing I'm going to need to do another prompt to get our actual like column in the middle looking good. Wow, look at this. So sign out, that's working good. Let's try to log back in. Wow, so check this out, right? So we come back after it's modified the page and it's created a new sidebar component, which is this right here. So we can't click on anything yet, but that's totally fine because look at how cool this looks. In the bottom left-hand corner, we have 2024 B2B lead scraper, all rights reserved. We have this very nice layout with these, I like these little kind of modular bubbles right here. We have like credits that we could probably configure. We have the new scraping task here. So once we click this, then I'll get a modal to pop up right in the middle where we can actually input like the scraping data that we need from, or sorry, that's required by Apollo right here. And yeah, we can just make this thing totally work really soon. Like we're We're getting closer every prompt we put in, basically. So I think next order of business is I'm not going to worry about these yet at all. Um, I'm just going to worry about this dashboard right here. And when we click new scraping task, I want to get the modal up and running. And then I'd like to actually integrate this into our app so we can call this via the API endpoints down here. So we have a run actor API endpoint, and we've already added our token, as I showed you a little bit earlier, to our env.server file. So that's great. So all we need to do is really call this and then take these relevant fields within the JSON right here, because this will be a really easy way to actually just give it to Windsurf and be like, hey, copy these. These are the exact fields we need. And then all we need the user to do is input the Apollo search URL here, and then they will be able to scrape as many leads as they would like, which is super, super cool. Okay, let's get going with that part. Okay, so we basically did a really nice like one-shot prompt of our new dashboard, or to style our new dashboard, which is super sick. And it just shows like the power of like the front end styling of these tools, at least simpler front ends. When you get a bunch of like nested components and stuff, it can get a little bit tricky. But anyway, now I think the task at hand is to actually like link this button, this new scraping task, to a brand new modal here, and then give it all of the data. Let's move these to the very end. Give it all give it all of this data that we need. So if we go to JSON right here, this is everything we actually need to scrape, to do a scrape. So boom, new scraping task. So let's upload, let's move this to the end. Chrome, let's go back here, upload an image. We just took this screenshot right here. Now, let's say it looks super good. Thanks for doing that for me. Now, I need you to reference the button in the top right-hand corner of the screen. When a user clicks that button, a lovely looking, beautifully designed modal needs to appear in the center of the screen that is styled using our Daisy UI components. Okay, so we have this. We just put the JSON in here, and basically just told it like these are the only things we need to start performing this scrape. But what we do have to do on Appify is actually go to the actors section, and then we can go to API right here, and we can go API endpoints. Yanan. I don't know what this is, but we'll just give this to here. No problems have been detected. So actually, you know what we'll do? We'll make our first commit. Well, this is the initial commit committed by next. Immediately when we created this, we'll do like added auth, added Supabase auth, add nice UI on scraping dashboard. And then that's kind of it. That's all we added. So we can do that, publish the branch, B2B lead scraper SaaS. We'll publish that to the private repo. So now our code is like, that's basically working with no errors, at least for the most part, has been committed to Git. So now we can be like, fix this. And then if this messes anything up, we can just hit decline file changes and it will go back to this version, which is fully clean. Okay, so I've adjusted more things. Basically, we were having these like key collision errors with our scrape result data that was like throwing errors within the Next.js like console. So like fix that. That was kind of a small thing. Then also basically just added more fields for our output data. So basically, since we're getting like the LinkedIn URL, I think like the website, first name, last name, like we're getting a ton of like fields of data for each person we scrape. Here we can actually look. So like, yeah, like job seniority, job functions, phone number, display intent, first name, last name, email address, headline, like all these things. So, excuse me. So when we actually export it to CSV, those will all be in the new CSV that our users can take and like do whatever they want with, add to their CRM, do whatever. So fix that. And also updated the export function because before we couldn't export it to a CSV. It just wasn't working properly. So fix that. So let me show you an example. Should be working okay now. So if I go new scrape task, we copy this URL, slapped in here, total number of records. Well, since there's only 16 in here, so we can do like 20, that's fine. And then click start scrape and let it do its thing. Okay. So you can see we have all these results right here. If I go out of this, you can see we can view results. We have the scrape. We have our recent scrapes right here with the number of leads we have scraped. Total number of leads from all scraping tasks. Completed tasks is 1. So these are updating correctly. Our credits aren't. That's fine. That's not a big deal. So if I just click export, it's going to download the CSV. And then if I click to open this, you can see this is all the stuff we have here. This wasn't formatted, but that's fine. We have like phone numbers, locations, and really like a lot of the main stuff that we're going to want. Now we could configure this to actually grab, where's my code? Like everything, like literally everything from here, which might be useful. Maybe we do that, but it's also like just a lot of data. So I think for the MVP, this is fine. But let's see. So like we have Andrew at Aho Tech. So we click founder, investor at Aho Tech. So it's pulling like the correct LinkedIn's, it's pulling all the right stuff. So we're making progress, guys. Like this is sick. Like we actually have a platform where people can sign on, scrape data, and then export the data. And it looks okay. Like it doesn't even look that bad. It's so sick. It's so cool. So like this is really good. Now we still need to actually update our scraping history button here so people can click on it and basically see like all of their scrapes that they've done. We actually can probably remove export data because we can just export it like in the scraping history. As I kind of said before, dashboard, we have our recent scrapes here. So it looks really good. Now we need to make sure this is all saving to Supabase so that users, obviously when they log out and end their session, they can come back in and all their scrapes are going to be here. Cause like, I'd be pretty mad if like all my scrapes just got like demolished, right? So we're going to add that next. Let's see what that looks like. Okay guys, so I've successfully integrated the data persistence on our dashboard right here. So what that looks like is if I refresh the page, doesn't matter how many times, you'll see our total leads will remain at 10, our completed tasks remain at 2, and these 2 scrapes that we've done don't go anywhere. They're staying here, they don't go anywhere. So that is super cool. And then we still have our columns here, or like our table below, completed, 10 leads. And then we can view the results, check it out, all the same stuff as before. We got the LinkedIn, absolutely everything we'd need for outreach, right? So basically, did this by coming on over to this brand new migrations file I created down here. Now this is SQL or SQL, whatever you say. This is basically a database language, you can think about it. So this is how you can set tables in a database and query databases to pull information. Now, you don't see a lot of this nowadays because a lot of the times there's remote servers like Supabase, like Prisma, like Firebase from Google that handle all this for you on the back end. So you don't actually have to write any of this. But with Supabase, I wanted to show you how this is done and how you can use, like, write these locally in your code. So you can see create table public leads. So this is how we're saving all of this data to our database. So you can see all of this data literally just corresponds to everything that we have in our search results, like all this stuff. So that when you log out and log back in, we just query our database right away. And then that's how these leads will stay in here. Because obviously somebody's going to be pretty freaking pissed off if they pay for leads and then they log out and then all their leads are gone. So that's basically how I did that. And then what you can do down here, guys, is you can run this command, Supabase link, dash dash project dash ref, and then you put your database reference number, which you can just find in Supabase. And then basically that will link this local database with all of these tables to your remote on Supabase. And then what you can do, you have to run Supabase, like log in first, put in your information, and then you can run Supabase migrations new, and then put the name of your table that you want to create, and then Supabase DB push. And then we'll spin back up our server again, npm run dev. But then after you run all of that, basically what that looks like is I can show you just real quick. So you can see you have these schemas right here. So we have our auth schema right here, which we created earlier. But then if I go down to public, we have our all the data that we're saving for our users, the job seniority, phone number, company name, headline, email, and we're saving all of these for each user in here. So this is what that looks like visualized on the back end, basically. So that's about it, guys. That's the last feature I wanted to add in this video. So that's the last feature I wanted to add in the video. Oh, let me show you this quickly too, actually. If I sign out, I just updated the homepage a little bit, or a landing page. So it looks a little bit like cleaner, a little bit more modern, basically. So that's it, guys. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. And this is a project that I'm going to be building fully on YouTube in public, just to do a really cool case study to hopefully just illustrate well, as best as I can, at least with my current skill set, how you can have an idea, create something, and then market it using social media or outreach or other strategies, and then get your first paying customer for a product. And I think that'll be really revolutionary to just see somebody doing this live in public. And it's not like this is a novel concept. This isn't new. People have done this before, but I'm just really excited to build this out and keep adding new features to this to show you guys that literally anything's possible. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you learned something. Hit me up on Instagram below if you have any questions or want to work together, and take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.